Are you guys ready to turn this thing into an actually good looking bathroom? Welcome back, and in case you're new here, we're currently in the process of completely renovating this apartment located in an over 130-year building in the heart of Oslo. So far, we've done a whole lot of demolition. We've done some more demolition and some more demolition. We made a huge mess and then we started building back up. We first started by building new floors in the entire apartment. Then we built a frame rack for this bathroom, which we in the last episode fully waterproofed. We're essentially gonna take this waterproof shell and make it look nice. We're gonna start with something really exciting, that being the surface that goes on this wall, which is Microcement. So in case you've never heard of Microcement before, it's a really cool product that you can apply to walls to make them look like stone or, well, cement. It's both really durable and it looks great, so I'm really excited. Now, what I have here is the first step of applying Microcement, which is kind of a rough fill material. Kind of reminds me a little bit of drywall mud. This will be the first layer to go onto the wall to even out any sort of bumps and unevennesses in the surface. Because yep, there are quite a few of those. And then after we've applied this first layer, we might sand a little bit, apply another layer of a finer mixture, and then we'll apply 2 layers of Microcement, followed by a top coat. And now before we get started with this, I just want to say a huge thanks to Duri, which supplied me with all the Microcement. Duri, as you might remember, are the same people that have developed the waterproofing system and the wood panels that you use behind there. You guys are awesome, so thank you so much, Duri. Oh, and they've also given me a bunch of tools to apply this stuff with. All right, we'll just apply 1 layer to everything. Oh, and I almost forgot, before you can apply anything to the walls, you need to prime them first. Man, I was so close to being finished, but then I ran out of material on just this little section of wall. Anyways, got myself another small bucket. We'll just finish up this wall real quick, and then it's on to some sanding. Well, that's all the walls covered completely with the first base layer. And as you can see, the next step is to sand off any of the bumps or ridges. This stuff is super hard to sand, so we're not trying to get it perfectly flat and smooth. We're just getting rid of the stuff that's gonna be an inconvenience for the next layer. Now, talking about the next layer, once we've sanded off all the walls, the next layer is another bucket of a different kind of goop. And compared to the first one, this one is a bit runnier and the grit in it is a bit finer. As a matter of fact, I've already sanded this entire section and applied another layer of that medium grit filler material. And you can definitely see that the texture is a lot smoother here now. Now, normally it should be enough with 1 base layer, a medium layer, and then 2 layers of Microcement on top. But just for this wall, because it was so uneven and I want nice sharp edges on all these niches and all the surfaces here, I'm gonna resand this, apply another layer of that medium stuff at the same time as I'm applying medium to the rest of the room. And then it's showtime, then it's Microcement. And here's the tip, since the stuff is so hard to sand, a lot of times when you have just bits and pieces sticking up, you can just sort of chop them off with the putty knife. Now the rest, unfortunately, will have to be sanding. Alright, it was a fair bit of work to get to this point, but we're essentially now ready to apply the Microcement itself. I did have a tiny hiccup along the way where the glue that we used for the membrane wasn't compatible with the sealing bag for the toilet. So I've had to re-glue the flanges of the sealing bag using a different kind of glue, and I'm not entirely done with applying the Microcement over that area yet. But everything else in here, let's do Microcement. Now, I was lucky enough that a couple of weeks ago, Duri, which has provided this Microcement, invited me over to their store to teach me about Microcement, the differences, and how to apply it. And that's basically how I've been able to get to this step by applying what I learned there. Now, super quickly summarized, Microcement is basically just a very fine cement powder, hence the name Microcement, that comes in one of two ways. The first one being in a powder form that you have to mix with a binder, or the second one, which is the one we're gonna use, which comes just like all the other stuff so far, pre-mixed in a bucket. The main difference being the one that we're using is a bit more resistant and more resistant to water as well. So perfect for a bathroom. The other type has a lot more play in it, and we'll use that one in the kitchen when we get to that part. Now, up until now, the first two layers have been all about giving the walls some strength and building up some thickness. And we've gone from really coarse grit to medium grit, and now that we're at the point where we apply the microcement, this will be the sort of finished layer. And you can see that it has a much finer consistency as opposed to the two first layers. Now you can choose from a range of different colors. We've gone for a really nice and light gray. That will match great with the tiles that we'll use later. Now the way to apply this layer is really thinly and with one of these tools. But first, a quick ad for today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is an amazing tool for learning concepts in STEM interactively, because learning interactively has been shown to be up to 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. One course that I really like is called Scientific Thinking, where you can solve fun puzzles while learning about the things that surround you. And if you're into building stuff, like I am, you can learn a lot of cool and really useful things here. Like for instance, you can learn about everything from gears, pulleys, and structures to even light and relativity. You can learn at your own pace and decide how quickly you want to progress through the classes. Learn on the go and learn something new. Brilliant works on both desktop and mobile. They've got courses for all ages and skill levels. So you can start with the basics or jump right into the intermediate and advanced courses for professionals. And you can get started for free right now by heading to brilliant.org/ALCH or clicking the link in my description below. But you better be quick, because the first 200 of you that use that link to sign up will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Now, bear with me here, I'm far from an expert. I only have the experience I gained at the training by duty, but I'm sure we'll figure this out. So you should be able to just spread this stuff on in super thin layers and work it in. And at this point, it's sort of up to you how even and smooth you want it, or able to get it. We're now at the point where there's at least one layer of microcement on all the surfaces. And I myself feel like I'm finally at the point where I have a bit more control over how the microcement is actually applied. The by far most challenging area was this wall with both the niches as well as the cutouts for the toilets. This wall by now I'm sure has at least 5 or 6 layers of stuff on here. It was a fair bit of work to get this area pretty flat, and now at the point where I'm really happy with that. And because the process of waterproofing all of this meant adding layers upon layers of the waterproofing strips, and all of that sort of bulged out the edges and rounded over the corners. So I've had to apply a fair bit of layers on all this and then sand it back and redo that whole process to get everything to be straight and to have the edges be nice and sharp. Now, not only the niches, but also the rest of the walls are sanded and ready for the final layer of microcement, but there's just one little problem. Now, the problem being that we sort of decided on a different color mid-process. So after coating all the walls in that first layer with the first color, we sort of felt that that color was just too cold. Now, I just happened to have a little bit left of a different bucket that was given to me by Duri just to do a bit of practicing, and that color we liked a whole lot better. In fact, that's this color on that wall. I've already applied a second coat with that new color. In fact, you can see down here, this is the old color, this is the new one. Hopefully that translates, but this one is a lot warmer and we're a lot more happy with that. So that's what we'll do next. We'll apply a second layer to the entire room. Oh, and also, just super quick, I realized that it was really hard to get really nice and smooth corners. So I've tried out a thing. I just taken a bit of microcement on my finger and sort of smearing it in the corners, creating a little round fillet. This seems to work really well, so I'm excited to see what the finished result looks like once we've applied the next layer. Finally at the point where I'm happy with the surface finish and we're ready to apply some clear coat. But to get to this point was a fair bit of work. Now for the main walls, that work mostly consists of applying a layer, sanding everything smooth, mostly, and then applying a second coat, sanding that one as well. And during that entire process, you're just hoping that you're not sanding too much in any of the spots, that you can see the base layer through, which I did plenty of times. So I've had to reapply microcement and sand that back down in multiple spots, and a couple of times I even had to do it 2 and 3 times. But we're now finally at the point where I'm really happy. It's really smooth, it's got a bit of play, I think it's gonna look great. Now for these guys over here, this was the real challenge. I'm pretty sure there's like 7 or 8 layers of various materials on here just to get everything straight. But after a lot of work, we finally got there. I'm also super happy with the way this entire wall is super flat and very smooth, even though we had to do that big repair both up here and down there. Now I was basically done, but then I remembered that we're gonna have lights in the top of this as well as in a shelf here, and that meant finding a way to hide one of these really thin light strips. The way I solved that is that I took a piece of plywood, cut it to fit exactly on the top here. Then I sawed and chiseled out a channel in the back of that plywood to fit one of these light strips exactly. I then pre-applied and sanded a bunch of microcement on the top of that plywood sheet. Made that look all nice and smooth because it's way easier to sand when you're holding it in your hand. Glued that to the top up here. Added a bunch more microcement, and then after a bunch more sanding, more microcement, sanding microcement, repeat that process a bunch of times, and you're left with a niche that has a little slot in the back that will fit that light perfectly. And I'm so excited to see how that looks once everything is finished. Alright, that's it. It's time to mix up some clear coat, coat all the walls in 2 layers, and then we're done with the microcement and we can start with the tiling, which kind of scares me already. And now after 2 layers of that clear coat and plenty of time to let it dry fully, the walls are completely finished. And let me tell you, I'm really happy with the result. The surface now has sort of a satin shine to it and it's completely smooth to the touch. But it still has some of that variation in color and that play from all the layers that we applied and sanded back down. Which, considering this is the first time I'm doing it, I'm really pleased with. Man, considering what this place looked like in the beginning of this video, I'm really happy with the progress that we made so far. Doing this renovation project and making videos about it at the same time is a ton of work. So if you liked the video, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. Also, if you want to build something for yourself, head over to alch.shop and pick yourself up either some cool 3D files or build plans and build something cool for yourself. That also greatly supports my channel. As for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye! You want a little sneak peek? Sneak peek!